Hello, and welcome to this class. This is a master class on opening your voice and sharing your gifts, sharing your unique medicine. And this is especially we're going to be sharing it online, on an online platform, on your website, creating a social media or something of that nature. But it also applies just in general, like really starting to open up your unique voice and refine it. And when I say your voice, just diving straight in, I suppose, I mean your soul's essence, your message, your stories, your lived experiences, the things that you are naturally passionate about or gifted in. Your voice is, is your expression, and it's really like a combination holistically of all of these things. And everybody has a voice. Everybody has natural gifts that they come here with, and as well gifts that they have learned through, the challenges in their lives and the things that they've gone through and come out the other side. And so your voice really is such a medicine for yourself and for others. And so I'm really, this is really about stepping into, that voice and understanding what that is for you and how you can start to really, again, refine it, which just means get more clarity on it in a way that's effective and really communicates and translates in a way that's fulfilling for you and for others. So that's what this is, especially for the mystics out there, the empaths out there, the healers, creatives, artists, people out there that are a lot like me, like I am, or like I was, and that feel like they have like a lot to share and they know they have a lot to share, but maybe they've been shy in really bringing that forward, or maybe they've had some blocks or confusion about bringing it forward. Also, a lot of times for very spiritual people, the gifts that we are here to bring forward are so, they feel so massive and intangible and kind of unique that it can be really hard for us to actually articulate what that is. And yet there's so much power in starting to articulate your voice and share it. I know it takes a lot of courage, especially if you are really sensitive, really shy. But that's one of the reasons I'm creating this class, is because I really feel that a lot of people who are in this sort of predicament, who have this message that they know wants to come out in their heart, that would be good for them. And again, good for the people who are needing that message, needing that voice, needing that wisdom, needing that medicine. Because if you have this calling, this is for people who have the calling. If you have that calling to share, everybody has a unique role in this, but if you have that calling within you to share your voice, this is for you. But I was going to say, a lot of times I think the people who have that calling and have so much light to share, but are really afraid to share it, that's the sweet spot of today's class, because I really feel like you're the ones that, like, the world needs your voice the most. And I would even say you need your voice the most, because we live in a society where we've been so repressed. That's just sort of the way we've all been raised, is to kind of hold your voice back. Again, especially the shy and sensitive people, it's almost like that's something we learned so early on, is to hold back. And the more we hold back throughout our lives, sometimes the more daunting or confusing it can be to really, again, start to bring that voice forward freely and authentically again. So, yes, this is again for you, for the people who maybe are more reserved and more shy but want to bring their voice forward. This is really going to be the information I'm going to share here is really going to apply to like anything in life, honestly. especially with opening your voice, developing your voice, developing your spiritual gifts. Again, when I'm saying voice, I don't just mean your physical voice. That's part of it. That is an expression of your essence. But I mean your gifts, your medicine, your unique style and expression and wisdom that only you have, that you can learn to, again, bring forth and refine in a way that is really, really serving you and others. And um, in general, this will help you in your life, in your relationships, in your business, and whatever you're doing. But specifically, this class is going to be geared towards sharing online, because that's what I've been really helping people with, is starting to bring their gifts on their online platforms in a way that is, again, authentic and also effective. So that's what this is all about. And when I say effective or successful, there's really three main things that we're going for. Is you're sharing your voice online, again, your messages, your wisdom, your story, the things that you want to say. You have something to say, again, if you have that calling. Maybe again it's that message, or maybe it's art, maybe it's music, whatever it is, a combination of all these things. Sorry, I was looking at the recording to make sure it was still recording, and I lost my train of thought. Um, oh yes, of course. That's the mark for me. That's my goal to help you with today, is having a successful online platform. And the mark of that success in my book is three things. One, it's fulfilling you. It feels aligned for you to be, it's because the thing about this is, and I'll probably say this multiple times, like with anything, but especially when you start sharing your voice online and you really go all in on that, when you start really committing to your spiritual gifts, and they don't necessarily mean they have to literally be spiritual. I just mean the God given gifts within you that, you may or may not know what that is yet, that just, it's something that you just love to share and talk about. It lights you up. Um, Whatever that may be, whatever those gifts may be. We'll get more into that later. But so one, it's fulfilling you. Two, it's attracting what I would say your soul family. It's attracting the people that get you, the people that love you, the people that really understand what you're saying and want to hear your voice. That's the second mark, because it's really important to understand how to reach those people. And that's such a fulfilling experience when you start really connecting with people that, are on your level and understand you. And then three, it's creating abundance for you, or at least it's positioned to create abundance for you, whether that's money or opportunities. There's a lot of things that happen when you're sharing your voice authentically, consistently, honestly. It really starts to open up a lot of doors for you. And this is again about sharing your voice online. I know that not everybody likes the online world, and I'm not trying to convince anyone that they should do this. Again, this is for people that already have this calling and they want to use this opportunity that we have here to, use the internet, use these platforms for good, to share their love, to share their light, to generate abundance for themselves and for others in a way that is truly incredible. Um, I've been doing this since 2016, I think, is when I first started. I just started sharing. I've always been really, really shy, like so shy, painfully shy. I remember, this is kind of embarrassing, but just how shy I was. I remember when I was in kindergarten, I literally peed my pants because I was too afraid to ask the teacher to use the bathroom. Even though he was like one of the nicest guys ever, I was just like, no, not doing it, not talking. Like that is like crazy. And I was like that a lot throughout my life. It wasn't until I got older that I really started to open up and share. And sharing online as a lot of people say, especially for those sensitive, shy, empathic people, it's like shadow work on steroids. You know, you have to really face a lot of parts of yourself when you start putting yourself out there authentically, especially with your spiritual gifts, because it feels so deep to you. It's vulnerable, you know? So any insecurities you have or any blocks you have, this has just been my experience again with having an online platform, spiritual platform, teaching, and also having a spiritual business, which we're going to talk about because you don't have to have that, you know, you can just share your voice. But I really encourage it because I think it's really, I'm going to get more into that again later, but I really think that that's a beautiful way to be of service, you know, and also be served yourself. But these things truly are such vehicles of transformation. So I'm just going to start out with that. You know, this is such a vehicle of expansion and transformation for you yourself when you start sharing your gifts online, again being vulnerable, you know, and start expressing yourself and also being of service and helping people, you know, helping people through the things that you've experienced and problems you've solved, the things you've learned. You know, there's so many times where it's going to push you beyond your comfort zone. And so that's why it is a vehicle of transformation, I have to say. And it's so worth it. It's so worth it. You know, if that's any encouragement, again, if you've had this calling, but maybe you've been scared, maybe you haven't even ever done anything like this. Again, if you have the calling, if you have a call within you to do this, or there's probably some people who already have something, but maybe you haven't been getting the results you want, or you feel like you've still been holding back or you've been having a hard time, anywhere in that spectrum you are, this is going to be helpful for you because I'm going to be giving you 13 key codes and some bonus codes as well, because I always like to slightly over deliver in this class that are going to be really, really helpful, as well as overcoming a lot of common myths and blocks that people have that holds them back from just going for it. So hopefully that's clear. I'm going to do my usual style. My usual style is always to just kind of flow and channel. That's really where my strength is. But I do have some notes here because I just want to make sure that I share everything that I want to share in this class. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about a mixture of the energetics and the strategy. There's so much here, and I'm so like I love talking about this stuff. Like this, I really want to try to keep this video under an hour and 30 minutes, so I'm going to do my best to not go too crazy, but I'm just so in love with this. Um yeah, and again, like I said, this is geared towards sharing your gifts online, like on a social media platform like YouTube or Instagram, a blog, your website, starting to develop some kind of entrepreneurship because I think that's really important. That's the way you can, again, everything in here, I'm going to be really honest, is about serving. That's always where my mind is, all serving like the Trinity. So it's serving you. You're not forgetting yourself. You're not being like a martyr at your own expense. You know, it's going to serve you too, as well as it's going to serve humanity, as well as it's going to serve God. It's going to serve all. That's what this is all about. Because the more you are nourished, the more you are taken care of. This is just how it is. The more you're going to be able to be in a position to help people. So I have to say that, you know, throughout this class, because again, this is geared towards the empaths, the mystics, you know, people that I understand you very intimately because that's how I've been my whole life. You know, these are things that we often tend to do is we forget about ourselves. And it feels nice, you know, oh, it's so selfless. But the truth is, if you're depleted, you're not going to be in a great position to actually be of service. And it's not helpful. If you're serving, you know, you deserve. And everything is energy exchange. And another thing I want to say before we get too far into this is the thing about this, there's a quote I want to share that comes up when I think about this, which is, I believe it's Carl Jung. Nobody really seems clear if this is Carl Jung or if it was Joseph Campbell, but basically the quote is, it's the privilege of a lifetime to become who you truly are. It's the privilege of a lifetime to become who you truly are. That's what this is all about. That's what developing your voice, your unique voice, and sharing it with the world in a way that is aligned with you, whether it's online or whether it's in another form. But honestly, it's so good to take advantage of the online. You know, maybe it's a book, again, a song, a painting, teaching, you know, all of these things. And we're always teaching, by the way. Our living example is always teaching something. So we're all teachers and students. You know, the best teachers are the best students and vice versa. And that's what a big part of online, you know, having these videos and sharing is teaching what you know and being humble enough to realize that a lot of the things that you know that you take for granted could be really valuable to other people. And there's so much medicine in our authentic expressions that we tend not to realize. We tend to take it for granted. And that can be a huge block for a lot of people. It's like, oh, well, I don't have anything to give. I don't have anything to give, when they're actually sitting on a gold mine and they don't even realize it. You know, especially the people listening to this video, you know, I really don't think you would even be here at all if you didn't have something really valuable to share. It's just a matter of starting to know that, trust that, and be that. But what I was going to say on that note of the quote that I just shared is, this is a vehicle of transformation and expansion and also actualization. And that's why I think it's so important, especially for spiritual people. I think a lot of times we can get away with just disassociating and just being in our minds all the time. But when you start, you know, for me, my soul, I could, you know, I think I could be in a cave and just nobody bother me and I'll just be in my own little world on cloud nine. Like I could probably do that for a long time and not get bored. Like I love that. But what my soul calls me to do, again, if this resonates with you, is for actualization, which means not just like going and disassociating in the spiritual realm and having my life be separate, but to do the work that's needed. And this can be really, really hard sometimes because every single thing has to basically get transformed all the time, it feels like. But what my soul calls me to do is to take that spiritual essence that I am and to work it through my physical body into my physical life, to literally live that purpose, you know, again, to become who I truly am, to fuse that spiritual, intangible essence, to do what's needed to bring that into a tangible form in a way that is serving me, in a way that's serving humanity, in a way that makes God smile. You know, that's the beauty. That's what this is all about. And I call it actualization because, again, it's embodying your spirit, really. It's that process of embodying it. You know, I think we're supposed to be stewards of the earth, stewards of the new earth, you know, not just disassociating and avoiding everything because it's easier, but doing the work that's necessary, you know, and facing those growing pains, so to speak, to bring what's within you forth. And again, at this point, I have to share another quote from the Gospel of St. Thomas. If you bring forth what's within you will save you. If you do not bring forth what's within you will destroy you. I feel like this is really, really true. And I think that's like a silent killer, honestly, of why that's probably has a lot to do with other factors of why many people um, decay, you know, frankly, is because they don't overcome this deep programming in the world and they don't bring forth that stuff. Every single one of us has it. Every single one of us has something unique because we're all fractals of God. Bring that, do again the work that's necessary to bring that forth, bringing that intangible essence, birthing it into the world in a tangible way. And whatever that is, again, maybe that's some kind of art, maybe that's a business, you know, making these videos, For some people, having a farm, a garden, a homestead, family, like all of these things. So there's really no limit. When you start doing it, it just keeps going infinitely and it always amazes you. So that's what this is really all about. And so again, let me just start. If you have this calling, there's a reason. There's a reason you have that heart's desire to share your voice. Again, even if you're not feeling clear on how or what it is, or you have these blocks, which we're going to go into. I've already been through all of these blocks imaginable, so I get it. And if you have this calling, you just can't take no for an answer. And that's part of the work. No matter what you're doing, when you're bringing these spiritual and creative gifts forward through you, you need to have such grit and staying power and find that balance. You need to be flexible because a lot of times you do have to pivot and reframe and surrender to God and trust the way that it's meant to come through. But at least in my experience in my life, you have to be so resilient and just not take no for an answer, because there's so many forces within you and without you that are going to try to come up against you doing this divine work. And that's just how it is. And I don't say that as a victim, but that's what it takes, though, to forge that diamond, those diamonds within you. So that's totally normal. I won't get into much right now because I'm going to share that later, but I just think that's a thing in this modern world. I don't know if it's like the new age stuff about everything's going to be easy, or if it's just the constant instant gratification we have. But bringing these spiritual gifts, if this is really like, if you have that heart's desire, not ego desire, but heart's desire to bring this forward, and it's hard, that's not a sign that it's not meant for you. Just have to throw that out there, because it's always those overcoming those things that's going to help you to become the person that you need to be, to again bring those gifts forward. It's really, really like, I hope you can get the point that I'm trying to say. Like, bringing these things forward is not for the faint of heart. And because I know all of you, I know myself, I know all of you, really none of us have a faint heart to be here on earth. Everybody here is really a warrior automatically in my book for even incarnating here. So I know, but just as a figure of speech, like, really, you really have to have that fire and just like that inner lion to bring these gifts forward relentlessly, because there's so many things that are going to try to stop you. And this just really, ultimately, just those are tests. But okay, so yeah, we're going to talk about these 13 key codes. And I'm also going to like your voice, all of these things are connected. So I'm really fusing a lot of intangible and tangible things together in a way that is going to be hopefully really helpful for you, as it has been for me. But yeah, we're talking about your voice, your essence, your spiritual gifts. We're also talking about marketing and branding and selling, because these things are like actually all really sacred and connected. And if you can't see that yet, I'm sure by the end of this you will see this, because I love it. I love it. I used to have so much resistance to these things, but yeah. And again, if I need to say this, like, the world needs your voice. The world needs more, like, if you are any of these things or all of the above, I 100% know, like, the world would be better with more like genuinely grounded voices, more loving, heart-centered voices, more compassionate, forgiving voices, more intelligent, reasonable voices, more unique voices. It's not oversaturated. That is definitely not true. Any of those blocks, there's so much nonsense. Like, there's so much just like nonsense in the world in general, let alone online. So don't ever fall for that one. We're going to annihilate any of these doubts that it's too saturated, it's not important, my voice isn't important. Your voice is important. And again, like, when you realize that, that's going to do a lot for you alone, let alone the people that you can impact. it's going to liberate you basically as you free your voice and your expression and refine it and have, it's good to have that high standard for yourself of truth, of conviction, of love, of God. But once you start to really liberate that voice and you start teaching and sharing, you're opening up the floodgates for your own expansion. Ask me how I know. That's literally, I'll say this probably again later, but really, this has been the experience. And this is an old teaching that in order for you to get to the next level of learning, you have to put somebody where you're at. And what that means is, teach somebody what you know. When you do that, you're going to receive new information because that's just how it works. This is what this is all about. This is what this is all about. The more you help, the more you will be helped. The more you teach, the more you will learn. It's literally an energetic flow, and I can't even, you have to experience it for yourself. Everything I say here, put it to the test yourself. You don't even have to take my word for it. But it's really, really incredible when you do that. And that is what opens, that's one of the greatest things that's going to open up your voice and open up your creative channel. And for a lot of you, you're holding back a lot, not because you're stingy or greedy. It's because you don't realize the gifts that you have. So they're just sitting here and it's keeping everything sort of closed and repressed. And when you start sharing and opening up, you'll be amazed, you know, how much stuff starts coming through for you. Such an incredible experience. And again, it's going to liberate you and expand you. And that alone is already the greatest service you can do for humanity is living a liberated life and being a living example of what's possible. Being a living example of what's possible for humanity. Okay, looks like I said all of the stuff that I wanted to say. Um, yeah, and another thing I want to say is just like with anything, you're never really going to be ready. If you've heard people say that, like, again, don't let that be a blocker, an excuse. Use your own discernment. And that's going to be another thing I share is like, always trust your own intuition. If you have that clear discernment of it's your intuition and not just your fear or your ego. But a lot of times you're never going to be ready. You really just have to go for it. That's been my experience. And just a little bit about me, by the way, if you don't know me, I'm Regan. I'm Regan Keely. I started sharing a little bit in the beginning, but yeah, I've been doing this since 2000. Really, I think 2017 is when I started making videos. I started off just writing Facebook posts because I had my awakening and I was so passionate about sharing this stuff. Even though I was shy, I was like, I cannot hold back because I really have to say I really need to share this information. And I ended up getting invited to the Conscious Resistance channel, if you know that channel. Really amazing journalism at the time and still to this day. Shout out to Derek Bros, amazing work. That really was when I started sharing videos and reaching a lot more people. And then I started my own channel. And since then, I've done all kinds of fun stuff on here. Just sharing videos, writing articles. I released 2 albums and singles and a poetry book. I've met amazing, incredible people on here that, some of them I've actually met and seen in real life all over the country. Um, what else was I going to say? Yeah, I've created abundance. I'm a Reiki healer, so I've, manifested different sources of income from this. I won't bore you. I know people like stories, but I don't know. For me, I'm like, okay, just get to the point. So, but that's just a little bit of my story. So I've been doing this for a long time and I've really, really loved it. And the greatest thing about it has really been, I think, who I've had to become to continue to do this. Because sometimes it's been really, really hard for me being somebody who is very reserved naturally to come on here when my spirit keeps telling me, you need to be more you need to be more vulnerable, you need to be more authentic. And, it's just flamethrower to the ego. Um, because life is messy, and again, that's what a lot of this is sharing your message, is sharing your message is your mess plus age, so the challenges you've been through that we all go through, because that's, part of it is like it's more important to be real and authentic than it is to try to appear perfect, because nobody's perfect. And that whole illusion that, oh, I'm so perfect, I have no problems. If you're living that life, like, either you're like the 1% of humanity that's actually that advanced, or, we're just putting on these masks and these facades, and it's really not helpful. If people wanted perfection, they could just look to AI. But I won't get ahead of myself because that's going to be part of the key codes. Where are we? We're 30 minutes in. Okay, perfect. That's kind of where I wanted to be. So let's just share some common myths and blocks, if there's anything there. If this is your calling, again, or whatever your calling is, deep down, if you have that calling. And usually throughout this journey, whatever that calling is, again, I'm using the specific example of opening your voice on and sharing it online and in real life, because you're going to do both, of course. Like, it's just developing yourself as a person. But there's always going to be a few points where you want to give up. And it's really important that you don't give up. You give up on the things that aren't working, but don't give up on the ultimate dream, the vision. So, again, common myths that are not true. Oh, I don't have anything to share. I don't have anything to say. Nobody's going to care. Everything's already oversaturated. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not articulate enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not wise enough. I'm not ready enough. All this stuff is really just excuses. Um, that we stay in. And trust me, I understand because I've been through all of them, but really it's not about that. You do have something to share. The people who resonate with you, who are the ones you really want to talk to anyways and connect with, do care, and you'll be amazed. But you're never going to know until you open up and actually share who you are. As you learn who you are, as you know yourself again and trust yourself again and start to be yourself again, in a way where you're being seen, which is very scary for people. I understand. But really, it's going to make you turn into such an incredible being as you overcome those fears. And again, it's not about being perfect. Really, for you to be of service, you only need to be like, they say like in coaching, like you only need to be like 10% ahead of the person that you're coaching, or the people that you're teaching. You don't need to be like some crazy guru, and actually, wherever you are, if you have this calling to share, it's because people have a calling to receive what you're giving. That's the truth of it, because everything is holistic and divine like that, and in God's creation. And so your voice, your unique story, your unique essence, your unique life, your unique style of delivery could reach people that maybe someone else that you look up to a lot wouldn't reach. Maybe Eckhart Tolle wouldn't reach it, or Teal Swan, or like, these really, renowned, however you say that, famous teachers, maybe it wouldn't reach them like your voice would. So don't compare yourself to that, thinking that you're not this or that enough. You just need to be you. Again, another block. I'm not ready. Okay. Being visible. This is something I talk about a lot in this video and in my container, the voice of the revolutionary mystic. That's another thing that if you have issues with that, we can work with that a lot, because I've had to overcome that a lot. It's very hard for people to be seen by a lot of people, which whenever you post something online, there's always that chance. You never really know. You don't really have control over it, but a lot of people could see you. And so that opens up the floodgates for a lot of primal survival fears. When we're being seen, it's a lot easier to hide. When people are seeing you for who you really are and you're shining your light, you're in your power, that's going to really inspire people. Naturally, that's going to trigger some people. People are going to probably judge you, misunderstand you, and that can be really triggering for the ego, especially for the empath who has these um, patterns of people pleasing. It feels very uncomfortable to be vulnerable like that and have like unresolved things where random people are judging you or misunderstanding you or even persecuting you. But if this is your calling, you just have to learn how to hold that, because that's essentially still a service you're providing for them. And that's what people are doing when they're in the spotlight. And people who are really good at it, you start to give them a little more credit. It's not easy to come out with who you really are. And you have to have a gift of holding space for people, actually really holding space for people, including people that are going to project on you. Because basically, when you come online and you share, on these platforms, any light you're sharing that people see, it's going to have an interaction with them, and it's probably mostly going to be positive. It probably is mostly going to be positive, but there's always that chance that you're going to have trolls or haters. So a lot of people are really worried about that, or a lot of people are worried about, even though it's really, really unlikely, being killed for sharing their voice, because that's been a real thing, throughout our history as human beings, is, being killed for sharing your voice. Maybe that's, if you're sharing something really crazy, maybe that's possible, but it's really unlikely. Consciously, we know this. Um, but it's still subconsciously that can be a reason a lot of people self-sabotage a lot when it comes to sharing themselves online, is because of that fear of being seen. And that can show up in a lot of different ways, like perfectionism, like trying to make everything so perfect that you never end up actually posting it or doing it. um, it can manifest as taking actions that don't really make sense. Again, the self-sabotage, because your mind, your nervous system, your body doesn't feel safe. This is true for anything expanding, but um, being visible can be a huge red flag to the nervous system that causes a lot of self sabotage, which is why, again, people either don't start or like they don't get good results, because it's just their body's not able to hold that. So that's something else like I help people work on in this container. Other blocks, not staying consistent. Maybe that's from not feeling safe. There's a lot of things that can cause that. Watering yourself down. This is a huge one. I hate to see it when people try to water themselves down or be too vanilla, you know, because they want to try to appease people, when really usually your best bet is to truly just be yourself the best you can. And that's how you attract the right people and repel the wrong people. Other blocks, doubt. Been there, been there, been there. I get the doubt. Comparison, shame. Mm. Um, oh my God, I have so much to say on that one. Oh yeah, so much to say on that one. Again, a lot of empaths will probably relate to that. If you start, again, in any capacity, opening and sharing your voice and gifts, that shame is gonna have to come out and be transformed. Because trust me, it will. It will rear its head. And it can be really hard. Shame, it can be really hard to actually see and pinpoint, because what do you do when you're ashamed? You want to hide. So that shame even wants to hide. So, there's a lot of ways that you can start to love that shame, see that shame, recognize that shame, and allow it to come up and out and be transformed, so you don't constantly feel like there's something wrong with you. Oh, that one's been personal for me. So I get that. I get the shame and unworthiness so much. I can write a book on it. I probably will one day. And then another block is people aren't clear enough. They're not really specific enough, because again, they're trying to appease everyone instead of talk to the people that they really want to talk to. Um, Again, there's a lot of old I just call them empath blocks. If I'm being really blunt, more like empath dysfunctions. I just have to be really honest about it because I've been through it, and I just things that are really normalized for us empaths that actually really prevent us from stepping into our power, stepping into our voice. And that's what this is all about. This is a huge theme of this class and all my work in general really is about helping people like that. The beautiful, gorgeous light workers and empaths that have been really just holding themselves so much back. It's like that's really a huge piece of this is to come forward and to have the knowledge and the tools and the awareness and the skills and the courage to bring that stuff forward because you have so much gold. And unfortunately the world or your trauma or the thoughts, is just so rough for you to get all of that out and share that amazing gold with the world again, for yourself, for others, for God. So yeah, a lot of times with empaths, super meek. I just want to hide. I don't want to offend anyone. Just people pleasing. Even if you're not doing that blatantly anymore, a lot of times these patterns come up, especially when you start stepping into your gifts and sharing your voice online or in any capacity. It's a big block. Boundaries. Are you setting boundaries? Do you have a good sense of boundaries with people and with anything that could be draining your energy that's not really necessary? That's so important for this work. Have to be able to have boundaries with people you know, people you don't know. A lot of times empaths and spiritual people are easily discouraged, easily distracted, easily thwarted. A lot of times spiritual people, empathic people, they're so like, ooh, they have a hard time holding the focus that's required to create an online platform or create an online business. And that's really important to learn that. So yeah, overall, just learning to stand in your power. Another thing empaths love to do, again, ask me how I know, is they love, this is so rough, and it probably has something to do with the way they were raised, but they love to try to save people and fix people that do not want to be saved and fixed. And it's such a draining thing to do when you're trying to save people that have no interest in being saved. Maybe they're just taking advantage of you, or maybe they're just not able to. Again, love and compassion to them and all. Not saying fuck them, but just learning how to have that discernment and that balance, because there's people that would literally love to hear your voice, who would love and want and need to hear your voice. People who would pay you, I'm not even kidding, there's people who would pay you to hear your voice. And yet oftentimes we're still trying to like shout into the void where nobody listens or cares. This is a side note. It's been a really fun thing that I've learned. Um, okay. So let's get into the 13 key codes here, which I've already shared a lot because I don't know. I like to I feel like it helps to cement some of this stuff, is to kind of say it in different ways. But number one key code for opening your voice and sharing your gifts in general, but especially online, is one, being you. Authenticity is the highest vibration. That is so true. Authenticity is key. So, just keeping that in mind. I don't want to do information overload, but all this stuff, just take notes on it and keep it in mind as you go forward, because part of refining your voice is just, this is the part that's going to be probably, the ego killer, which is good. We want to, we want that, even though it's hard, but is that you literally have to explore and experiment with your voice and gifts in order to know them and refine them. So, keep these things in mind as you continue to go through that process. As this, again, this is a vehicle of a transformation and expansion, of rebirth. So your most magnetic key is literally being you. So again, knowing yourself, trusting yourself, being yourself, going through that process, and just being you, not trying to be like anyone else, getting inspired by others, especially others who are very authentically them, but realize that you're going to be different. You're going to be unique. Are you naturally bold and loud and flamboyant? Or some people are, and it works for them because that's who they are. Are you naturally soft spoken and gentle and like, what's just natural for you? You don't have to have this mask. But also, I want to say, as a side note, as you're finding your voice, even if you do have masks, that's okay, because they're going to continue to fall off as you go. So again, sometimes even those masks are authentic to you, if that makes sense. Just so you don't overthink it so much, like, oh my God, am I being authentic? Am I being authentic? Don't overthink it. Just share, just be you, and you get better and better at it as you go. Okay. Just be you. I already said that, but literally that is the most important one, is to be you. Don't water yourself down, because that's how you blend in with the noise. That's when you go into the oversaturation of the internet, is you just watering yourself down. What's that Dr. Seuss quote? There's no one alive that's youer than you. Like, you are the brand, the niche. And that's the fun part of spiritual branding, is really all you're doing is learning how to take all of that energy and refine it into something that is more concise. And it's really awesome, really worth it. Okay, so 2. So again, this is about finding your voice. And these are just questions that you can write down and think about now and over time as you go with this. It's just sort of prompts. If you've heard of like ikigai, it's a Japanese concept. I think it's like, what do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? What can you be paid for? That's an interesting one to look at that can really help you, when you write those down. Or just Google Ikigai and you'll see it. It's like a 4-circle Venn diagram that can help you. But essentially, ask questions like that. Who do you want to help? Who do you want to speak to? What do you want to help them with? And how do you want to help them? And this isn't written in stone. You probably won't come straight out the gate knowing exactly what that is. But just think about that and keep that in mind and keep refining that and trying to get a little more specific on that. Like, what problems can you solve for people? What are you passionate about? What have you always been good at? Or what challenges have you went through and came out the other side? Another thing you can think about is, what's your core wound? What's that thing? Maybe it's scarcity, poverty, or worthiness, shame, anger. Maybe there's been a theme in your life that you've like worked really hard to overcome, and people call that your core wound. And a lot of times people say your core wound is something that you're really here to help people with. Or another question you can ask is, what do you love to talk about? Like, what can you just talk about for hours on end? What themes have you noticed throughout your life? And more specifically, for making content, you can ask yourself, what's alive for you right now? What have you learned recently, like in the past 30 days or less? I know that's a lot of questions, but these are just things you can write down and think about and just get more clarity on. Like who you're helping and who you want to speak to and what you want to help them with. It's, yeah. A lot of this is probably going to be intuitive too. So just trust whatever comes up. And there's a lot of value in just flowing with your intuition. You don't have to put all, my goal isn't to have you have to put everything in this box, in these boxes. But just again, like, this will just help you to refine your voice, your message, the things you want to share over time. See if there's anything else on that. Yeah. Don't think about it too hard. If you're like me, you might overthink this. Like, I overthought this so hard, and it's like, it's actually very simple. Just trust whatever comes up, and you will continue to refine it over time, again, as you explore, as you experiment. 3. This one is about having conviction. You have to have conviction, having conviction in your voice. And sometimes this is, again, hard for empaths or spiritual people because we're so out there, we can see so many different sides of things. And so you don't have to rush this or force this, but just having that again in mind of learning to have conviction in your voice and what that means for you. What does that mean you need to do? Does that mean you need to really know what you're talking about? You really need to, put things to the test, like just going on that journey of having that conviction in what you're saying. And again, we're going to talk about this a little bit more as well. It's like if you're selling something, sharing something, everything is like that, whether you're literally selling something or not, you have to have conviction in it. It's an extension of you. So, yeah, how do you do that? How do you have that conviction, that focus? One way you can do that is, just ask God to be a vessel. I do that every day. It's just, God, let me be a vessel for you. And what's your North Star? Truth, God, love, expansion. Like, what's your North Star? Don't be afraid to stand for something. Again, I think a lot of spiritual people struggle with this. It's like, but just because it can be hard to find what you stand for doesn't mean you shouldn't do that work to know that. That's something amazing I've learned. And the conviction, I'll probably again say this already, and I've already said this in different ways, but conviction, it's not about being perfect. It's not about knowing everything that there is to know, because nobody on the earth knows everything there is to know. And in fact, the more you see, the less you know. The more you know, you don't know. So it's not about that. Having conviction is more about having integrity and trusting yourself that you can be somebody who is of their word. If you say you're going to help someone, you're going to be able to help that person. You trust yourself to find the answers, even if you don't already have them. You trust God. You trust, the process of what's going to unfold. That's really more about what conviction is. Yeah, that's really what it is. It's knowing yourself again, trusting yourself, and being able to back your words and have that power, learning to stand in your power and your truth, in your genuine authority as a humble child of God. It's kind of a paradox. You're an incredible, precious child of God, but humility, the true humility isn't, it's not about, obviously, it's not about deprecating yourself. It's just about, realizing how much there really is to know. It's actually, it's, people say, it's not about thinking less of yourself. It's about thinking of yourself less, being less self-conscious, and just trusting what God is giving you and sharing that and being able to be a stand for that. So yeah, that's number 3. 4, specificity. I think I said that right. Again, use this with discernment for whatever you're bringing forth. Everything you need to trust your own intuition. These are just all the things that have worked for me and worked for many others. But don't be afraid to be specific, when you're thinking about stuff that you want to share and create. A lot of times people have a lot more success with going deep into something rather than going wide with something, of really speaking to the people that get them. It doesn't have to be super narrow, but a lot of times people are afraid to like niche down because they're like, oh, but I could help all these people, but who are you really qualified to help? Who could you really excel at helping? And a lot of times, I'll be honest, it's over 90% of the time, it's probably who you were like 5 years ago, more or less. So that's probably the people that you're going to be able to help the most. And that's what teaching is saving time. So a lot of it is saving time. So you can, you've already solved all these problems that you can tell someone and save them time so they can come up. And that's what all of this awakening and expansioning is. That's all we're doing, together. That's really what it's about. And then 5 is sort of similar, but it's about refining. And again, I've already said this, but just continuing to refine your voice, which again, you can only do by exploring, experimenting, asking yourself these questions, trying it, and seeing what's working. And, I'm not saying just throw spaghetti to the wall and see what sticks. Sometimes you got to do that, but I'm not a fan of doing that. I like to do things intentionally as I can. But there is just some level of experimenting you're going to have to do with your voice, and just give yourself permission to have that freedom to share and work with people, or whatever, whatever your heart, you always know, even if you think you don't know, it's just because you're resisting it, but you always know, in your heart, you always know what you need to do in each moment, what the next step is. A lot of times sometimes confusion is just sort of like a reset that we need, or it's just the nervous system having a meltdown, that we could learn how to work with that instead of being completely taken by it. But yeah, just continuing to refine your gifts, refine who you're helping, refine. I think there's a lot of power in that. I really do. I was resistant to that for a long time, but hopefully that's helpful. Again, don't worry about that so much straight out the gate, but just keep it in mind over time as you go. How can you continue to make something really beautiful and coherent, and like make sense? It's really effective. That's how you kind of start to develop your own methodology, if you will. And that's amazing because we all have that. All right, number 6. This is about learning shadow work and learning, I put these two together, learning how to work with the nervous system. So, shadow, when I say shadow, I just mean that which is unseen. The unconscious qualities in you that are naturally going to arise when you start stepping up to your destiny. And that's why we're here, right? It's the privilege of a lifetime to become who you truly are. I define destiny as exactly that: coming into your destiny, coming into your soul's purpose for incarnating, versus what I would call fate, which is just getting swept into the unconscious programming of the world and completely losing yourself in it, and that you're just going to be a result of your environment completely on autopilot. We've all been there. That's what we're born into. Coming into your destiny is awakening those gifts, awakening your voice and expression, and actualizing it into your life. That's your destiny, So I just had to throw in this tip here for, again, especially shy empaths. If this is hard for you, that's not a sign that it's not like for you. This has been like, again, like this, like me coming online and sharing and doing all the stuff I've done has again been one of the most rewarding, amazing things in my life. Also, one of the most challenging things that's caused me to have to die so many ego deaths and be reborn. So, yeah, that's just another thing I talk about a lot in the Voice of the Revolutionary Mystic, and the container that I've created for this, for opening your voice and sharing your gifts, both spiritually and physically, tangibly, is learning just to work with your nervous system, work with those unconscious parts of you so you can kind of be a lot more in harmony. You're not going to be so confused when, you go to post something and, you sometimes, like, there's been times when if you're sensitive, like it's very intense. Like visibility can be very intense for a lot of reasons. Um, a lot of reasons, a lot of things can happen when you start being more visible. And that's why you got to make sure you're being sovereign and take care of yourself. But yeah, when you start putting yourself out there, again, in any capacity, when you're facing your destiny, like all your shit is going to come up, all your insecurities, like all of your blocks, all of your negative beliefs, like all this stuff is going to come up for you to walk through the fire and transform all of it. So just know that's normal. It's okay. And you can learn how to do it more and more with grace. And the better you get at it, the quicker you move through it. And yeah, again, it's the journey of a lifetime. It's really, really incredible. So learning again to have that shadow work, that's a big part of it. Nervous system, realizing a lot, like self-sabotage happens all the time. So like just learning how to stop sabotaging yourself. And again, that usually happens because your nervous system doesn't feel safe, changing, especially going into something unknown, something expanded. For our little lizard brain, that is a lot. That is a lot. Even when it's like, we all know this. Whenever you go to make a change, even if you're trying to let go of like a habit or something that's killing you, there's always that resistance that we have to learn how to see and, honor and transform. And a lot of it is, working with the nervous system, because when the self-sabotaging of the nervous system can look like a lot of things. It can look like procrastination, staying confused all the time. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Huge tip when you're doing that to yourself. Okay, I don't know what to do. But if you did know what to do, okay, but if you did know what you wanted to say, what would it be? Use that. That is an amazing thing that has helped me a lot to overcome that, oh, I don't know what to do. You know what to do. You're just playing a weird game with yourself unconsciously. But again, it can, so, they can cause you to not act like you want to do something, but you just never take the action. Or maybe you do take the action and the action's not getting any results. A lot of that comes down to your nervous system. So I talk about that a lot again in the container. Okay. 7, having that balance of strategy and energetics. Most of it is going to be energetics. When I say energetics, I mean, your inner work, your having those aligned thoughts and beliefs, and having that inner work that we all do naturally. Not to overthink that part of it. It doesn't have to be flawless and perfect. It's always going to be a work in progress. And that's kind of the fun of it, right? But I also want to say, because this is something that took me a while to learn, because I would only focus on the energetics, but it's also important to know the strategy. And by strategy, I just mean, in this example where we're talking about sharing online, understanding what works, understanding the systems, the platforms, the algorithms, having some kind of a plan and knowledge that, like, a system that works. And it doesn't have to be rigid, but having something where you can have a structure is really important, and especially for spiritual people who usually aren't the greatest at structure. And the thing I want to say here, if I haven't already said this, is just also a reminder to always do things your way. You got to follow your intuition, because what works for someone else might not work for you. So always keep that at the forefront. Do things your way, because that's going to probably be what's most, if it's truly coming from intuition and not your programmed mind, and learning to have that discernment, that's what's going to be helpful. But don't be afraid to learn strategies, because that's going to help you so much to learn the practical tools and laws that you're also working with. And in a sense, learning to play that game, playing the game of social media, playing the game of having a business. Like, nobody's forcing you to do any of these things, but if you want to be really good at your craft, you really want to reach people, you really want to have an impact, accept the fact that you're going to have to play certain games, and you just learn how to make them your own. You learn how to make them fun. You learn how to, like, with a lot of things, for example, marketing and selling, which I'm going to talk about soon, people have a bad taste in their mouth because of all of the distortion and, like, a lot of the inverted ways, deceitful ways that they've been used in the past. With corporations, and like the disgusting commercials, or like really deceitful games that they play. Because of that, people are like, ugh, uh, it's not good. I shouldn't market. I shouldn't sell. All of these things can be done in a deceitful, dishonest way, or they can be done in an elegant, honest way. It's not inherently bad, so playing these games of business, you just have to learn how to play the game in a way that you're in your integrity, you're in your honesty, you're in your authenticity, and you're not using it as an excuse to keep playing small and hiding. So that's, a journey in of itself. It's finding that balance, kind of that middle path. Number 8 is opening your creative channel, opening your voice channel. Like I said earlier, the more you teach, the more you learn, the more you give, the more you receive. On and on and on it goes. And, another thing I like to share a lot for people who feel repressed or stiff, which is really common in this world, you got to open up those channels. Ask your intuition, how can I open up these channels? But I can give you a few tips right off the rip. Writing more, writing, dancing. Dancing is amazing. Singing, drawing, moving, like creating, and stop trying to be perfect, because that's in this society. People are so messed up over that. They're like, I can't even sing if I don't sound like, I don't know, Nina Simone or whatever, like insert world-class singer here. That's not what singing is about. Like, go back to your roots. Every single culture would sing, not because you need to have this incredible performance, but because it's medicine. It's who you are. Your voice, your physical voice is the frequency you need to heal you. Same with writing. You don't need to be an incredible writer. You don't need to be an incredible dancer. And again, how would you ever even become incredible if you don't even let yourself be bad at it at first? And then another thing that's really true about creativity and your voice is if it's been closed, if you haven't moved, if you've been stiff, if you haven't like worked with your creative energies in the beginning, and even throughout, there's points where you just have to like get the cobwebs out. So, even for me as a musician, like singing, like there's so many times where I just have to make weird sounds. Like I just have to make weird noises that are like really like ugly or primitive or like not pretty, because like I don't know. That's just something I've learned that made my voice way better. Ultimately, is like I need to just get these sounds out. Or like writing, like you need to just get these thoughts out. Even though you might think that these thoughts are crazy, out of your mind on paper. Open the floodgates. Creative, if you're creatively blocked, just write something. There's been times where I want to make a video, I can't think of anything. I just start recording and share whatever comes to me. It ends up being really good. Or even if it's not good, it ends up opening up my channel. I think I made my point. People don't let themselves get messy enough. They don't let themselves play because they're so embarrassed of how it's going to look. Just if you need that space, just do it when nobody's around, or don't let anybody read your journal. Like you don't have to let anyone see. Just get that energy moving and flowing and going, and then you can work on sharing it. But in the beginning, you just need to open up those channels. Open up those channels, honey. Okay, number 9, teach. I love this one. Teach from what's real. I worded this weird in my notes, but basically, what's real is more interesting and valuable than trying to be perfect. This kind of goes along with authenticity, but I'm saying it in a different way. It took me a while to learn that some of my best work, my best videos, my best writings, my best art and music actually came from when I was in the thick of something, in the thick of a challenge, in the thick of a mess. Because this is human life. If you're expanding, if you're leaping, if you're taking those quantum leaps, like you're going to be going through strange experiences, to say the least. So don't be embarrassed about that. That's a sign that you're on the right path. I mean, I think Jesus Christ is a great example. His life was far from perfect. He's always navigating things. And yet he was like the best teacher ever. So you don't need to have this perfect life to be a good teacher. What you need is to learn how to be a good student of life and then teach from that, you know, coming from an empowered place and learning how to share your stories, you know, because in your life, everything you go through is a parable in a sense, you know, that you can also learn from and then share. That's why we're all here, you know? So everything is ultimately everyone's discussing the same thing. Again, this is like how Joseph Campbell said, every story, myth, parable ever is some form of the hero's journey. You know, so you have these alchemical codes in your own life, in your own stories, in the things that you've been through, the things that you're going through, the things that you've overcome or are overcoming. You know, as long as you're coming from an empowered place, that's really valuable medicine. So don't think that you need to have this perfect life, or when I have a perfect life, then I can teach. You just start where you are, and then that's how you get really good at it. Okay. 10. Consistency. Being consistent, having discipline, having devotion with your voice, with your gifts, with your craft. You gotta have staying power. You know, as long as you don't give up and you continue to learn, you will get there. You know, speaking of the hero's journey, you know, there's usually like in everything, every story, every creation, every movie, your own life, there's usually 2 or 3 points in every journey, every cycle where you really want to give up. And it's really important that you don't. And, you know, you got to have that grit. There's been a lot of times in my life where something like would come up and I would take it as like, oh, it's not working. Just burn it down, just delete it and start over. And I did that a lot until I realized like I have no staying power. Like I really need to just sit through this challenge and stop taking it as a sign that it's not meant to be. You got to have that grit. You got to have that staying power. Side note too, if you're doing online, I'm just going to throw this in there because I'm throwing everything in here that I can to make this really, really helpful for you. If you're starting an online platform or you already did, do not let the metrics get to you because you have to stay consistent. You have to stay consistent and keep getting better in order to reach more people. And in the beginning, you might not get a lot of views and engagement. Do not let that discourage you because if you let that discourage you, you're never going to make it. That is an initiation all online creators have to walk through, and really any creators. It's very rare, even if your stuff is really good, it's very rare that just straight out the gate you're gonna get the, I don't know what you'd say, the recognition or the accolades that you want. And you know, obviously your conscious mind is going to say, well, it's not about that anyways. Of course it's not about that, we know that, but still it's a hard game to play online. You know, those things, you got to make sure your ego doesn't get attached to those things. 11. You will make mistakes. Accept that. Really accept the fact that in order to get good at something, you have to let yourself be bad at it at first. Again, this is one that took me a while to truly accept, that if I'm going to be an online creator, and this is really what I'm called to do, and this is really what I want to do, and I want to go all in, people are going to see me make mistakes. People are going to see my journey. People are going to see my growth, you know, because we're all constantly evolving and growing. And people are going to, like, my self image is going to be the teaching, and is a teaching in a sense. And so, like, I have to trust what God wants to bring through me over my ego's desire of how I want to be seen. So that means being vulnerable. That means being honest about things I'm going through that aren't always glamorous, um, you know, or how I would like them to be in my own mind. Like just things like that. People are going to see your process. Just accept it. Just accept it. If you're a teacher, your self image is going to be, you know, and those are the best teachers. Really, I think the best teachers, the best artists, the best humanitarians out there. If you know, you know. If you see it, once you're a creator, you get it. If you're just a consumer, you take everything at face value. But once you're a creator, you see people, that will sacrifice their self-image for the greater and higher good, meaning they let people have their misconceptions about them in order to teach them something important, in order to mirror back to them something important. So it's really, really beautiful. That is a really beautiful thing that, we learn to do, because again, we're here to serve, right? And that's what serves us. Is there anything else I want to say on that? Yeah. So it's really okay. It's really okay. It's really okay. You really learn to be okay and how to hold space for people, even when they're judging you or misunderstanding you or criticizing you or whatever the case is, not taking it so personally, because you're just mirroring back. And anything that does get to you, it's probably just a trigger for you to, again, this path is not for the faint of heart. Like every single thing is going to come up. So just accept that and realize that it is for your highest good anyways. Like those triggers are going to get spotlighted, ouch, but then you're going to heal them, and then you're going to be even your life's going to be even cooler, even better. Okay, so number 12, almost there, doing pretty good on time. I'm so grateful. um Coming up with offers. Come up with offers when you're ready. Again, only if this calls to you. You don't have to, but if you're going to have an online platform and you're going to share your voice and you're going to start sharing your work and developing your work and refining your work, it's very beautiful to be able to invite people deeper into your world, people that want to come. And you do this by, either creating services or products, events, workshops, memberships. The sky is the limit. Something that is authentic and honest and feels good for you, that's really fun for you to do, that really, that sweet spot that is really serving people and serving you. These are extensions of you coming up with these offers that you can give to people that you can serve deeper with and be served by and create an energy exchange. I won't go too much into this right now, but I am telling you, any spiritual people who still have an issue with marketing and selling their services or their products, that is just such a myth. That's such an illusion. Like anyone who tries to guilt trip you for that is probably either already like they don't want competition, or they're not really understanding the energy exchange and how things work. They only know about the inverted sides of things. They're jealous, or they're leeches, and they just think everything should be free. And this isn't communism. Like, you give out a lot for free. It's good to have a charitable spirit, 100 million%. But it's always been like this. It's always been like there needs to be an equal energy exchange. Trust me, I used to give away everything for free. It's not the way. You're just going to be depleted, and you're going to attract people who are, be really frank, you're going to attract a lot of bums, because, and I used to be a bum too. It's like, so I get it, but there's something really beautiful about giving people the opportunity to invest in themselves with time, with money. I could go on a whole rant. People value things a lot more when they pay money for it. And back in the day, there was a thing where if you wanted to learn from teachers, you would have to sacrifice your possessions in order to learn. And this, now, just paying money is a lot easier. It's actually a lot easier. So, I mean, that's just like all of these things. Selling authentically is about creating a win-win that creates more abundance for you, and it creates more abundance to the person who's buying. That's what true business is. And the beautiful thing is the better you get at it, because the market doesn't lie, the better you get at serving people, at solving problems for people, the more you're going to get rewarded. And so the market doesn't lie. Like, this is part of refining your gifts. That's so awesome and fun, even though it's so frustrating sometimes. But literally, you have to learn how to get good at helping people. Like, that's 100% it. The better you are at helping people, the more you get paid. That's just what it is. So part of that's your gifts, and part of that's learning how to translate those gifts in a tangible way that actually resonates with people. And it's not always what you think. So that's a really fun and humbling journey as well. It's so awesome. Highly recommend. I mean, for me, like having a spiritual business, having a business has been like the greatest mystery school for me ever, or at least one of them, in this world, in teaching me how to refine my gifts and teaching me how to actually be of service to people and just opening the door for so much more freedom, for myself and for others. And it's such a great opportunity. So I just have to get rid of any of that. A lot of times spiritual people I pass, oh, I don't want to sell, I don't want to market. And then marketing is just learning how to be a good communicator. It's not about being deceptive, it's not about, you don't have to be like these obnoxious commercials, like getting in people's subliminal mind. No, it's not about that. Just marketing is putting your work in a way where it's actually going to be found, instead of just you just put all of your heart into this painting, into this album, into this video, and now nobody's even going to ever see it. So all of this stuff is part of your craft. Like I said earlier, the energetics and learning these different systems and strategies and how to use them in a way that is in your integrity, it's all part of the expansion in the game. And it's the journey of a lifetime of, if this is your calling, actualizing your gifts, not just in your mind, but in your life, making your purpose. I always say your presence is your purpose. This is true, but taking it to the next level where you're literally living your purpose every day. Like, I can't even believe that this is what I do. And there's so many people that have tapped into this, and why not you? It could be you. 100 million% it could be you if it's not you already. So that's my spiel on authentic marketing and selling. It's amazing, 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 amazing. I have to say it because I used to be one of those people that would like really like get guilt tripped about it. And it's just no. Finally I get it. And okay, 13. Last one. Continuing to go upon this journey from your soul rather than your ego. And again, this is just part of what you're going to learn either way, inevitably, often through trial and error. But each iteration, again, it's a vehicle of transformation. And each iteration you go through, you're going to get better and better and better at it. Your products are going to get better. Your services are going to get better. Your voice is going to get more clear and confident and potent. Like, everything is going to continue to clear itself out as you go through these cycles. If this is what you choose to be your vehicle of transformation, or at least one of your vehicles of transformation. Again, opening your voice and sharing your gifts, becoming who you really are, embodying it in your life. Best thing ever. We have this opportunity now, more than ever we've ever had before. And because I always believe in slightly over delivering, I actually have 2 more codes. One, or I guess it would be 14. 14, know your goal. Again, a lot of people sabotage themselves here. By not picking a goal that's actually aligned and authentic to them. They pick goals that they think they want, or they don't pick goals. They always just have this vague thing where it's like the goalposts is always being moved. Have a clear, specific goal that's like, that feels realistic to you, but also is a little bit of a stretch. Have a clear goal for that. And then once you read that, you can go the other one. But what do you really want? You want to connect with people? You want to have a certain amount of stuff you're creating? Like, what's your real goal? That way you can actually measure this. We got to be a little practical. I know we're spiritual people out here, but like, it's good to have, literally, like I said, I've always been naturally really like spiritual and energetic. So for me, my spiritual journey has actually been a lot more fulfilling when I'm able to integrate the tangible, practical stuff with the spiritual. So yeah, know what you want. Know what you want. Know what the goal is, and be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Don't be afraid of like, oh, that's selfish. I'm only here to serve humanity. You are here to serve yourself and humanity and God. Don't forget yourself, because the more you are nourished, just trust me, ask me how I know, the more you really are nourished, the more you're going to be able to serve. 100 million%. Don't deplete yourself. Like, don't, completely deplete yourself because you're this bleeding heart empaths, like, oh, I'm only doing this to serve humanity, when really we need to do all of the above: serve ourselves, serve others, serve God. And, something to think about too, if you're still like, oh, I don't want to be selfish, do you really have a problem with other people? Or are most of your problems coming from yourself? That quote, be the change you wish to see in the world. A lot of times it's really our own inner battles that we're fighting. It's not that we need other people to change, it's that we need to change ourselves. And that's where all our power is you don't change other people. You change yourself, and then you inspire other people who want to change themselves. Because it's always between that soul and God, ultimately. And we're just here to walk each other home. So, yeah. Yeah. And then the last one is taking action. Taking action. I feel like a lot of spiritual people suffer with this too, because we just want to be in our own minds. We just want to meditate. We just want to think about what we're going to do a million times and then not actually do it. You will move the needle so much faster when you take action. Ideally aligned action, ideally intentional action. But what does that really mean? You need to learn what that means, because it doesn't mean that the action's always going to feel effortless. When you take quantum steps and quantum leaps, these are going to be things that are going to be uncomfortable for you. It's going to feel like, I'm not ready. Oh my God, what's going to happen? What are people going to think? Stuff like that. Even for me, making this class kind of felt like that. I was like, oh my God, I'm scared. But, here I go. I got to do it because I got to take that action. Take the action. Learn how to take action. Don't just stay stuck in your mind all the time. That's such a sad thing to do. And again, ask me how I know, because I used to do that all the time. I'd always think about stuff in my mind. I would play out every possible scenario. I'd be like, all right. And then I wouldn't even, you got to take action, my friends. You really got to take action. And if something's preventing you from taking that action, get really curious about that. It's probably a nervous system block. It's some kind of a block. Again, just try to be playful with it. I definitely recommend that. Because, bringing your gifts forward, again, I've already said this, the energetics and the strategy, it's a mixture of faith and works. So having that faith, surrendering to God, having, that trust, working with God. I mean, that's 100% what we're doing, right? Learning how to do that is going to be your greatest bet on all levels. But that doesn't mean that you don't do anything. You have to take the action. You have to take the steps that you're being called to take. Because a lot of times, we like to bullshit ourselves and we're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm waiting for God to show me. But a lot of times the ball's already in your court. You know what you're supposed to do. You just don't want to do it for some reason, even if it's just something small. So that's really good. Yeah. So coming forward, starting to share your voice, this is your time. Now is your time. Now is the time more than ever. We need real voices. We need good hearted people sharing their voice online and in real life. And that also means learning how to be effective. It doesn't mean like maybe you've tried in the past and, it doesn't mean you need to you have to learn how to be effective. You have to learn how to be, uh, a good communicator. That's part of the journey. So you're not just steamrolling over people. You have the gift, but then there's also the art of learning how to express the gift in a way that is fulfilling for you and for others. So that's really why I'm here, to share this and to help with this. All the things I've learned, I feel like I've made every mistake in the book. But my biggest thing, one of the biggest reasons that I'm here, I have come to find, is to initiate the revolution. It's what I think about all the time ever since I was a little girl. It's just like the revolution. And when I say revolution, I mean evolution. I mean initiating the changes, the real changes that I feel, that I've experienced, that I know, that would just make this world so much cooler for all of us. Again, I can't help it. I just have to say it. It's connected. It's not separate. For our own personal sakes, for our lives, making our lives way cooler, way more fulfilling, way more free, way more abundant, way more connected to God the way God intended, and naturally creating that in the world. It's like wildfire. It's like wildfire. Imagine if like good-hearted, smart people knew how to like market the new earth. Everyone would be on board because everybody wants that. Pretty much. There's probably a very small percentage of people who like really actually want to suffer. It's just learning how to actually communicate. And that's part of the work we're being called to do. Yes, we have the essence and the vision, but how do we actualize it and bring it forward? That's what we're here to do. That's what I'm here to share, at least. That's what I mean when I say revolution. I don't mean this propaganda nonsense that people think of nowadays. Like, ew. I mean the real heart of returning to God, returning to the truth, returning to what's sacred, what makes sense, what's holistic, what works for people. That's what I'm here. And my biggest thing with that is showing people how to open up their voice and bring their gifts forward. So that said, I hope that this was very helpful, but I want to share that I have this is the first time I'm actually officially announcing my container, The Voice of the Revolutionary Mystic. And this is a 3-month container, one-on-one with me, where I will be helping you to do just that, to take you to help you to really open your voice, refine your voice and your gifts, and start sharing them in general, but especially online. So if you have this calling, again, not everyone has this calling, and that's okay, guys. Everyone has their own role to play. But if you have this calling and you run and just catalyze it, save yourself so much time from all the mistakes I've made, and just get really, really clear. And again, your creativity, your voice, starting to express that and have that impact in the world, start to share that, then this is going to be something that would be really, really helpful for you to, again, open your voice, refine it, learn how to start creating content, videos with whatever it is that you want to bring forth, creating offers that align with your soul, that are fulfilling to you, that are attracting your soul family, your audience, the people that want to hear your voice, that get you, that are gonna be like, oh my gosh, yes. The people that I just call that your soul family. And also it is something that's going to create more abundance in your life in so many forms: abundance of love, abundance of money, abundance of opportunities, abundance of freedom. These are all the opportunities we have now. Every single one of us, if you have this calling, there's 3 requirements for this. If you have this calling, is it 1, to know your goal clearly, specifically as possible. It can start general, but specifically, what do you really want to do and bring forth and accomplish? 2, committing to it fully, committing to it. If you commit to it, and you don't give up on it. And then 3, you're willing to learn and continue to educate yourself and get better and better at it. Be teachable, be coachable, or learn. You know your goal, you're not going to give up, and you're willing to keep learning. Those are the requirements to have a successful experience sharing your voice. That's really it. Just don't give up on it, keep learning, and know what you're doing. And stay devoted, stay disciplined, stay consistent as you possibly can. And you just keep getting better and better and better with each iteration. So the Voice of the Revolutionary Mystic is a 3-month container, one-on-one with me, again, to help you to do just that and really catalyze that journey, because sometimes it can take a long time, especially if you have a lot of confusion or doubts. You need that support, you need that accountability. So that would be 7 calls with me over the course of 3 months. And one of those calls is actually a really potent energy healing session in the beginning, just to really catalyze this. This is a big part of my medicine, actually, is energy healing. I don't know if people realize that or not, but it's something I've been doing, really honed in on that craft to make sure any kind of a lot of times people that come to me just have these like residual blocks that just need to get cleared. And it's like losing like 50 pounds. So that's a part of it, is that initial healing Reiki session, remote. And this is all going to be on video call. And then 6 bi-weekly 1-hour coaching sessions where we're going to be like really diving into what's your goals, why are they your goals, what do you want to create, and how do we start really bringing that forth, start bringing your voice forth, start expressing it in a way that's authentic and clear and effective, creating content in a way that's effective, using these strategies, that you got to use in a way that's authentic to you. And then continuing to refine that in a way that, again, is fulfilling and fun for you, in a way that's going to attract people that you need, in a way that's going to create abundance and opportunities for you. And then you're also going to get a whole library of resources that I have. It's probably, I don't even know, I probably have at least 30 different resources that I've made in this private library that you'll get access to for the rest of your life. Meditations, guides, journal prompts, activations on all the stuff I mentioned above, but like way deeper. Weekly check-ins to see how you're doing. And also Monday through Friday, you'll have texting support on Telegram if you have any questions or ideas, or you want any feedback on anything. I will be there to assist you, because this is my greatest joy. This is my greatest joy, is has been bringing my voice and gifts forward and helping others do the same. So again, anyone who resonates with this, if this is you, empaths, mystics, aspiring healers and creators and sensitives, anyone who has this calling and feels this resonance, to seriously start sharing their voice and really commit to it, really make those changes, really be willing to get out of their own way and share their gifts to serve themselves, to serve others, to serve God, to bring their true essence into the world. And now that's your job, essentially, is to just be you. I mean, what could be better than that? That's just the best thing ever. It's just the best thing ever. I think it is. I think it's so fun. You don't need to have any experience. You just have to be hungry and humble and ready to grow and really do the work, to the best of your ability. Just have that mindset. So you don't need to have any experience, or maybe you do have some experience. Maybe you have a platform, you just haven't got the results you want, or maybe you've been wanting to start one for a while and you haven't. You don't necessarily need to know what you want to share yet. I'm sure you probably already have some ideas, because, there's something there. But all that stuff we would work on in this container in our time together. So yes, the first 5 people that sign up, I'm going to be giving you a pretty good discount. I already had one because I mentioned it on my Instagram stories and somebody snagged that up. So there's 4 more spots as of now, where it's only going to be $333 a month for 3 months. Or if you make the full payment, it's one payment of $900. And that's 3 months of one-on-one access with me. And we're going to be working together in a really beautiful, harmonious way to make sure that your platform, your everything just like comes up. Like, you're going to be so positioned to just all cut through all this nonsense and just share your voice and your medicine in a way that, again, is effective with the 3 things I said. It's fulfilling, it's reaching the right people, and it's bringing you abundance. That's what we want. That's what we want, so that way you can be freaking thriving and you can help other people to thrive, because that's what it's all about. We are stewards of the earth, stewards of the new earth. We're here to bring this forward, you guys. We're here to bring this forward. Greatest service you can do. So that's that. I only am going to take max 5 people a month. So if you're watching this at a later time, this still applies to you. What I want you to do is go to the link below, or go to my website. You'll find it, transformingthedarkness.com. It's the Revolutionary Mystic. That's the name of the container. And you can click that page, read more about it, and apply. Or make it even easier, you can just email me directly at transformingthedarkness.com. So if you're seeing this soon, you want to be a founder, you want to be that first 5 people to go through this with me, that'll be awesome. Send me an email. Or, if you're seeing this later, still send me an email and we can get you in. Or if there's a wait list, we'll see. We'll just have a conversation. And even if you're just interested, send me an email, because I only am going to take people that I know I can guarantee them results. So, we can just sort of start that conversation and see if, that's you, if you're ready for that, or if you want to start to be in a position where you'd be ready for that later. Yes, I am here to serve. I'm here to make those dreams come true. That's really, really, really why I'm here. I'm so excited. I can't wait to work with you, beautiful souls. So yeah, email me, transformingthedarkness.com. Transformingthedarkness@gmail.com. Email me, start the conversation. We'll see what we can do. You can also on my website, you see my testimonials, my work. I've been working with people for years, my videos, music, poetry, all this stuff you can go and find there. I did pretty good. I wanted to keep this an hour and a half. I'm a little bit over time, but yes, that's everything I wanted to share. So much love to you. Either way, I hope that this is really, really helpful for you to have these key codes and keep them in mind as you start sharing your voice in real life and online, and cultivating those gifts and sharing them in a way that translates to serving other people is the journey of a lifetime. Journey of a lifetime. So thanks for listening, everyone. Again, if this interests you, send me an email. I would love to hear from you. And yeah, until next time, much love, everyone. Thank you. Bye for now.